Hello there! In this lesson, we're going to learn about the musculoskeletal system. Now, the skeleton part of the skeletal system you're fairly familiar with. It's the little drawing you have before you here of a skeleton walking or running. And of course, all these bones are the way in which movement is made possible. So these bones are hard enough so that a muscle attached from one to the other can cause contraction to move the bone that way. Then you have other muscles on the back to move the bone the other way. And so together, the muscles and the bones are what allows for movement. You can't really have one without the other. So we'll start with the skeleton. Mammals like us and whales have what's called an endoskeleton. That means that the bones are on the inside, or the hard bits are on the inside. Insects, they have what you call an exoskeleton, where all these plates are the hard parts that the muscles will be attached to allow for their movement. Skeletons are really cool in that they are one of the ways that we can use to tell the relationships between creatures. Now, a whale and a lizard are obviously not the same creature, but they do share quite a few similar features. They both have this nice spine. They both have ribs protecting internal organs. They both have, a shoulder blade and an upper bone, and then two middle bones, and then a bunch of little bones. Same thing here. We got a shoulder blade, we got an upper bone, we got two middle bones, and a bunch of little bones. And so you can see the relationships between organisms by looking at these similarities, and that's what biologists use in studies relating to evolution. So whatever type of skeleton you have, it'll have some similar features. Our skeleton, of course, is composed of bones, but also some connective tissues like ligaments and cartilage. Ligaments sort of hold the bones together, and the cartilage allows for them to move smoothly against each other. So we'll learn a little bit more about those as we go along. A couple functions of the skeletal system will be to provide structure, support for where different features of the organism are going to be. Protection, you have this rib cage that protects a bunch of vital organs in there. You get this nice skull that protects the brain that's inside. Support, so the pelvis here is going to hold up the spine and everything, allow for movement on two legs, which is a unique thing to humans. It's very different in other organisms. While they do have a pelvis, it looks and functions different than ours. It doesn't provide the same support. And lastly, of course, is movement. You can't really have movement very easily without having some bones to pull against to allow that to happen. So the first part of the skeletal system is, of course, the bones. They're the main part. That's the part that everybody thinks about when you hear about a skeleton. And bone is this amazing cellular construct that is really hard, but also flexible and allows for all this movement and structure and other features. The cells in bone are sort of spread out, and there's all this protein and mineral that's built up in between the cells, and that's called extracellular space or extracellular matrix, where this protein exists. The main protein that is found in bones is collagen, and so it's collagen along with those minerals, which are like calcium and phosphorus mostly, that make the hard bone structure. The other nourishing components, like the nerves, which would be these yellow guys here, and the blood vessels, which are the red and the blue, the arteries and the veins, they'll travel through little passageways through the bone. There'll be small holes in and out where these can go in and out and provide what's needed to the cells inside. These cells are going to, of course, maintain the bone structure. Now, on the inside of some bones, not all bones, there will be a marrow section, and that is where blood cells are made. Things like the red blood cells and the white blood cells that we learned about earlier in the circulatory system, that all occurs inside of the bigger bones inside of our body. The next feature of the skeletal system we're going to have a look at are the ligaments. Now, ligaments are connective tissues that hold the bones together. Otherwise, all these bones would just fall into a big heap. So there has to be stretchy, collagenous fiber again that holds one bone to another and keeps them in the right spot. So each bone, it shows the feet here because there's lots of bones, will have ligaments that hold them all together. Usually holds them there pretty snugly, but allows some movement. So if you massage your foot, you can feel that it'll bend and twist in certain ways, but not in others. And that's because of where the bones run and the ligaments that are holding all those bones together. So yeah, ligaments occur between bones. So the last thing we're going to look at is the cartilage that is found in the skeletal system. Cartilage is not just found in the skeleton, it's also found other places. If you feel your ears or the tip of your nose right now, what you're feeling underneath the skin is cartilage. Cartilage is mostly collagen again, just a slightly different mix, a little softer again than the collagen that you'd find in bone, less minerals. And where you find collagen in the skeletal system is any place where you're going to have movement. So this is your ankle, which has to be able to move against the bones of the foot. And so between the two of them, you will have cartilage. And again, further down here, you want these bones to be able to flex against each other. And so on either side, there will be smooth cartilage that allows that movement to occur. A common place where people have issues with their cartilage will be in their knees. Some people, in athletics, they harm their knees over time, or as we get older, the cartilage may wear down over time. And so that's a place where definitely it plays a big role in the ability to move. So just to show the difference here with this knee joint that we have a drawing of here, the ligaments are what are going to hold one bone to another, and the cartilage is what allows for the smooth movement of the one against the other. So we've spent most of our time looking at the skeletal part of the musculoskeletal system, and we're going to finish off just by looking at some of the muscles that are related. So muscles are cells that can contract, they can pull one, they can shorten, pull one end towards another. And so they are essential for movement, of course, and that's a big part of what the musculoskeletal system does. So there are three types of muscle tissue. The one that we're going to focus on, of course, is going to be our skeletal muscle, but of course the other two we might as well address here as well, the cardiac muscle and the smooth muscle, all of which we've seen in other places and in other systems. So let's have a look at each one in turn. First off, we'll look at the skeletal muscles. These are the ones that allow for movement. And remember that the muscles can only shorten. That's the only thing that they can do. They can't go the other way. They can't push the other way. So for any sort of articulation, for any sort of movement where you want to have opposing movements, you have to have muscles on either side of wherever those joints are. So a good example is in the arm. So we got a joint here at the elbow. And if we want this arm to move downwards, we need a muscle back here that's going to pull this bone toward this bone, right? And pull it that way, right? So that's going to be what you would use to push. Say you're doing some push-ups or you're going to pull something down. You're going to activate this muscle on the back, which is called triceps. Now, if you want to go the other way, if you want to pull your arm this direction, well, then you got to activate the muscle on the other side of the bone. So this is your bicep muscle, and it's going to pull this bone towards the top side of this bone in the shoulder, and that allows for movement in the other direction. So you got to have muscles anywhere you want movement by contraction. That's the only thing that muscles can do is contract. And so if you want them to go both ways, you need muscles for either side. All right, so just to finish off this lesson, we're going to have a look at the other two types of muscle and remind you of some of the places where you would find those around a body. So smooth muscle are the ones that are used for a lot of involuntary muscle contractions around the body. So things that your brain takes care of, but you don't have to think about. They're very good at holding for a longer period of time. I think of when your eyes dilate, where they get bigger or smaller. They don't just do it for a moment. They go to the size they need to and they stay there. Our blood vessels all have a muscular layer that allows for that contraction and pushing of blood along through that system. When a woman gives birth, the uterus is what contracts to push baby out. Bladder, same thing. goosebumps, which is kind of cool. There's smooth muscle attached to the hair follicles, and when they contract, they can stand up, give you the goosebumps. Our respiratory tract and our digestive tract have smooth muscle that lines those linings. When you swallow, that smooth muscle that pushes the food down to your esophagus and so forth. So smooth muscle found all sorts of places around the body, good at contracting and holding over time. Finally, our last type of muscle is the cardiac muscle, only found one place, of course, in the heart. It's the muscle that contracts like all simultaneously and completely. You get two big contractions of the heart. You got the atrial contraction. When that happens, it's going to push the blood down from the atria into the ventricles. And the second contraction is the ventricle contraction. That's going to push the blood either out towards the lungs or out to the rest of the body again. And the neat thing again about the heart is that the signals for this contraction come from within the heart itself, and that also makes this type of muscle and nerve combination special and unique. All right, so I hope that all helped, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.